Hello friends and enemies, it's time for my attempts at a new format for my monthly wrap-up. So instead of talking about everything I read, we're going to talk stats, my DNFs or lows, surprises, and highs. So this is going to vary month to month, but I think this is easier because I do talk about every single book I read in my vlogs pretty much, and if I don't, I'll be talking about it here, if that makes sense. So I am going to note that I will be excluding manga this month from my highs or the lows because I will have a manga log coming to you in mid-April. We will have a manga log, so that'll cover all of the manga I've read since January to March, and I'm just going to do one at the end of 30 and 30, unless, if you have a preference in the comments, you can let me know. If your preference in the comments is a vlog of all the manga I read in 30 and 30, let me know. If your preference is that I just do a manga log where I talk about them all, because I am reading a bunch of volume 1s. So outside of those volume 1s, they will either be in my weekly vlogs or it will be their own vlog. Let me know your preference. But let's dive right into the stats. So I had a really, really good reading month. I'm going to caveat this. Like, first things first, I had a really good reading month. So with that in mind, don't take my reading month and think this is how your reading should be. Okay? Like, it was one of those months. I read a lot. I haven't had a lot going on. I've been stressed, so I've been kind of coping through books, which is kind of my norm. But anyways, I read 32 books in the month of March for a total of 7,960 pages. My average rating was a 4.32, which is accurate. I tend to rate highly. I read quite a bit of manga, which also bumps my ratings up because most manga I pick up is 4 or 5 stars. I don't really keep series that I don't love, and I don't really keep reading series I don't love. I listened to about 35 hours of audiobooks, which also accounts for a lot of my reading, obviously. And then let's talk about where I got my books from. So one of my books were from Kindle Unlimited this month. 5 of my books came from the library. My age groupings are 23 adult titles and 9 YA titles. Then for format, I read 5 ebooks, 11 audiobooks, and 16 mangas, which is really exciting. I think I did a great job on that. I'm pretty pleased with what I read this month. I think I read a lot of really good books, and I think I found a lot of new authors that I really can't wait to read more from. So there's that. Next, let's talk about my lows. I really only had one major low this month, and this was a 2.5 star for me, which was The Wisteria Society of Scoundrel Ladies. I read this for the Ted Lasso video, and honestly, I wish I'd never touched this book. I'm so sad about this book. I wanted to love The Wisteria Society of Scoundrel Ladies. It sounded like my kind of historical, steampunky, weird mix of things. Just a weird book. I like weird books. I like weird plots. But I found this really hard to follow, and I found the plot very nonsensical. And I also just didn't like the world building at the end of the day, because again, that played into it being hard to follow and the plot being weird, in my opinion. And I wanted to love it so badly that I'm just truly so disappointed at how much I disliked this. If you want more in-depth thoughts, of course you can watch that vlog, but really that's kind of the sum of it. Like, it was just not good. And I heard from people that read it with their eyeballs and people that read it as well, and they didn't enjoy it either way. So like, I just think it was one of those books that, like, if it works for you, it's gonna work really, really well. And I'm somebody who's really I super miss the steampunk romance days that we used to have, like Mel Jean Brooks before they were writing as Katie Wilde. Yeah, before they were writing like some of their others as a different author name. I just miss it so much. I miss like that kind of steampunk world. Like, they worked really, really well for me. So there's that. My surprises. I have 3 surprises. One of them is a surprise because I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. So that'll be interesting. But first up, we have Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is my first Jane Austen, y'all. And I read the BBC audio adaptation that I got on Audible. It has all of her novels, and I'm going to slowly work my way through them. But Persuasion was my first one. I read it because of Chapter 3 podcast. And honestly, I'm still surprised at how much I loved this book. I tend to struggle with classics, not historicals. I have a couple classics I really like. I enjoyed Frankenstein. I've enjoyed Dracula. I enjoy more the Gothic classics, I guess would be the word, than I do the classic romances, I guess. I don't know, whatever you want to call Jane Austen. Either way, this is my first one that I've ever finished, and I had a blast with this audiobook. I think it was really fun. I think it's a 4-star read. There's a lot of yearning and like angst in this book, which I really enjoyed. And I think that part worked for me really well, and that also made me more interested in reading more Austen. I do struggle with Jane Austen because I find that I've seen so many adaptations of Jane Austen books that many of the times I've tried to read Pride and Prejudice, I'm bored because I know the story too well. So there's that also. But yeah, this was great. If you want to check out the Chapter 3 podcast episode that we did on this, we did have Alexa Dunn on with us, and we watched that awful Netflix movie. So have at if you're curious. Next, I have Shimmy Bang Sparkle by Nicola Rendell or something like that. This was this was a recommendation I got off of a thread on Twitter that I posted asking for criminals in love, and this was one of the recs from B in Her Books. This was fantastic. So this follows a girl who is planning her last great big heist. He witnesses her stealing a ring and follows her because she left her phone, and that's his excuse. But he also is like interested, and he's like recently out of prison and on bail. And it follows the two of them going on this big heist because her friends end up unable, her normal like heist friends end up unable to do it. Their group is called Shimmy Bang Sparkle. They're like notorious. This was fantastic. If my criminals in love thing has piqued your interest, this is the book you need to pick up as well if you're looking for that. It is on Kindle Unlimited and it includes the audio. So that's fantastic. Like, it is so worth your time. It is absolutely delightful. If there is noise in the background, that is Peace chasing her tail. Because of course it is. But this was absolutely delightful. Fan-freaking-tastic. Highly, highly recommend. I gave it like 4 stars. I really loved this so much. I could see myself revisiting this, and it could easily become a favorite. For me, I think the heist elements weren't perfect, which makes it a little bit harder to be a full 5-star or a 6-star all-time favorite. But I think if I reread it, it might be. It might be. But yeah, this was fantastic. All right, and last, we have The Fae Princes. I did get an arc of this because I am a member of Nikki St. Crow's Patreon, and I read it early. And I've had a lot of feelings about this book. The things I loved, I loved. The things I didn't like, I did not like. I think it was a little slow to start. So I think I had a little bit too high of expectations for this book at the end of the day. I am left excited for the spinoff with Croc and Hook and Wendy, but I think it took too... I also had this issue with the last book a little bit too. It took a little too long for the action to happen. I wanted more action earlier in the book than what we got, basically. I needed there to be just like a little more happening. I don't want to spoil it either because it's like book 4. But if you're not familiar, The Fae Princess is the final book in the Vicious Darling not trilogy, quartet. Quartet's the word. Jesus. I swear I know words. But anyways, in the quartet, it's the last book. Whole setup is that every year on their 18th birthday, one of the Wendy Darling children is kidnapped and taken to Neverland because Peter Pan is in search of his shadow. Well, this year it's Winnie, and she is like very confident in herself and like her feminine wiles and doesn't give a shit if anybody thinks she's a whore and all these things. And it was just, she's fun. She's really fun. I really like her as a character. I really like her setup in general. So it was a blast. But yeah, the ending for me just didn't land how I wanted it to completely. All right, now let's talk about my highs. I only had 2 like standouts this month that I wanted to talk about. So first up, we have One Fell Swoop by Alona Andrews. This is the final book in that trilogy, like the first trilogy, and it was really good, y'all. It was really fun. It was really cute. I think it was just a great wrap up. I'm actually thinking about rereading all 3 books. Like, I really think I'm going to reread all 3 books in a row. So, that's probably going to happen next month. And you'll kind of know about it because it'll be in a vlog. But, you know, I don't have to talk about it here then. But yeah, I am honestly really tempted. I'm really excited for the next section of the series following Maud. Yeah, that's her name. But yeah, I really loved this. It was really cute. It was really fun. I love our characters. I love the inn. I love the world building, just all of it. The mix of like fantasy and paranormal and sci-fi and like all of that into this. Fantastic. Fantastic. And then last of my highs, we have Exodus 23, which I just read for the Trans Rights Readathon. And this made the list, though I only gave it 4 stars because I don't know if I've ever read a semi-biblically accurate angel. So, like, angels in the Bible have, like, a ton of eyes and stuff. And I think it's really funny. Like, nothing cracks me up more than, like, when people do the party and, like, somebody is dressed up as a biblically accurate angel. I don't know why. I'm a heathen. And, it just amuses me to no end. Because I think, like, we like, oh, romantic and sexy. No. Eyeballs everywhere. So hot. But yeah, I love a biblically accurate angel. And this was delightful. This is such a short little novella. It's a great debut. Like, it's really strong for a debut. And I think it's just impressive how much is packed into the story. This is definitely a story about, like, grappling with religion and your identity, along with, like, what it means to be religious. And basically our main character goes to this church to help rebuild it and ends up meeting their love interest. They are trans-masc and, like, got out of jail because, like, they got bailed out of jail because they got into trouble. And it just follows their journey of this, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. Like, it's so good. Well, I don't know why it's so good, but I loved so much of it, and I'm really excited to pick up more. I know Heart Haunt Havoc is less spicy than this book. This book definitely is pretty steamy. There's a lot of sex scenes, and it gives me, like, the Priest Sinner, I haven't read Saint yet, those vibes, like, you know, the whole, like, sex is part of worship thing and prayer that happens. Yeah, but fan-freaking-tastic. If it's been on your radar and you haven't picked it up yet, highly recommend. But that is everything for this wrap up. Let me know if you like this format. If you hate it, we can go back to mid-months and wrap ups with everything. I'm indifferent, really. So far, for me, this is easiest, but if y'all really have a preference, feel free to let me know. I just really don't want to list off all 32 things I read necessarily. But in other news, if you made it this far, leave me an angel emoji of your choice, or a devil, take your pick. And if you don't want to do that, let me know your favorite book that you read in the month of March. And I will have links to all these things that I talked about down below. And I will have links to those vlogs and anything else I mentioned. And links to be my friend anywhere on the internet. And I will talk to y'all again in just a few days. Bye.
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know.